My man.
Hey, Los.
Howdy, y'all. Los here. We're here with our friend Brandon Baldauf of Hawkeye Bonsai to talk about bonsai once again. Today he brought a familiar tree. This here is the Yamadori tree we found in Leno about a year ago, and it is back for some work.
A little bit of work, yeah.
I'm super excited to see this. Now, we saw it earlier in the year when we visited your garden, and it was in full leaf. Beautiful looking, and I couldn't believe that you were able to take a tree that was just sitting in the ground, living its life for probably the last 10 years or so. I don't know, I'd estimated about 10 years. And then put it in a shallow pot, and it did its job. It didn't skip a beat, basically.
Not at all.
And so we're here to do something to it, and I'm not quite sure. Why don't you tell us what we're up to today?
Sure. Well, yeah, it's been a full year in this bonsai pot. So looking to, as it's dormant now in the wintertime here in Austin, here early January, welcome to 2023. We're essentially going to be doing some branch reduction and elimination in order to emphasize and create more taper on this specific tree. So since this thing was straight out of the wild, there's a few things that we need to address in regards to looking at the roots and understanding what roots we can eliminate. I see some opportunities there for making that better. And then the branching. I mean, this is literally nothing has been done to this tree other than fertilizing, water, sunshine, and love since it's been dug out of the ground. You know, I potted it up, put it in this lovely ceramic, and now it is ready for a slight bit of attention in order to increase the taper and presence of the tree at large.
Yeah, it's healthy enough to at least get rid of some unwanted branching. I mean, it's an impressive tree. Yeah, and that's a pretty good looking front there.
And within bonsai, like the apex and the top of the tree is always the strongest. So if I didn't do anything to all this branching, we might risk losing some of these like lower little embellishing branches down here. Like, and I like this little branch, how it emanates out and then juts up and kind of fills in this area over here.
It's got a lot of its own character there, yeah.
Yeah, so I want this branch to stay strong and vibrant. And if all the power of the future growth is going up into developing this region, then it's gonna just jettison that lower branch. It's like, hey, I'm an efficient creature. I don't need this thing. Lose it.
You're absolutely right, and that's what I had to do with my bald cypress this year. It grew too much on the top, and then all the bottom was getting really, really sad. Wasn't growing much, so I chopped it real good, and it started busting all over the place.
Exactly.
It's beautiful, so it needs that balance. The balance, yeah. I hit you up, and you're like, you need to cut the top. I was like, okay.
Why is the lower branch showing weakness?
Yeah, that's exactly why.
Excellent tree. Texas is amazing. Cedar elms are amazing. Happy to live here.
Yeah, so let's get started on what
Absolutely.
you want to do here. So what's your first thought about this?
It's amazing. So I'm really aiming at doing minimum reduction on things. There are some areas for health and longevity of the lower branching that I'm looking at reducing. But like with all good trees, I want to start at the base. So this is straight out of the ground. Lots of lateral roots that are very thick. They will be cut back whenever we repot it, but with the Akadama soil that it's in, it will not need to be repotted for a couple of years minimum.
So that's his home for the next couple.
Absolutely. So when we're looking at the base, it's nice and there's lots of like distributed roots everywhere. And the thing that really catches my eye, the one flaw that I want to address right now, is this where you see the stacking of the roots.
Yes.
So they're competing for energy, they're competing for power, it's creating slight reverse taper. I'd rather build out a nice thick root seamlessly flowing into the trunk line without something stacked on top of it.
Yeah, and I mean, you've got like a whole, like that's, I'm sure, the cut site at some point, right? You're gonna eliminate this taproot action here. So in favor of these as the Nabari?
Potentially, I will continue, yes, to your slowly. I don't know if this is gonna be the cut because I need to continue to see where the other roots are distributed. And to your awareness, there's one other spot, like right in this region, that has the same problem, to where there's two roots that are stacked literally on top of one another.
These two, oh yeah. Whoa!
So they're both excellent roots. They're very thick, they're very long, they're nicely placed. In this situation though, I'm not gonna remove this top one because I might actually, like you're recognizing, remove the lower one in favor of this top one. But it depends on where all the other roots are positioned and how they stack up.
Yeah, because right now it can go, it's 50-50. You've got a line of them that are good for down here. You've got a line of top ones as well. So whatever ones end up looking better and thicken up, you know, whatever good ones thicken up, I guess you can make that decision later.
And it also doesn't have to be 100% radiating from the same like circumference, if you will, because you can put moss pads and like little clumps of things in between them to kind of offset that and give it a little bit more presence without it being like totally flush to the soil line. Plus this thing will get angled, like re-angled when it gets repotted. So some of that will help fill in that gap.
Cool.
So for today, good sir,
Today,
kick it off.
we're just gonna do some cleanup. Ah, yes.
Take the first cut on this big root and we'll see if we can tease it out of the soil.
So first thing first, we're gonna get rid of this. That is an unwanted root. Now, could you cut that off and thread it somewhere if you wanted to?
You know, I think you could.
That's actually a
root
pretty
is
cool
still
little
viable.
efficient way of doing that, right? Like, I'm just gonna move this right. I'm gonna move this. All right, so here we go.
I mean, there's no harm in trying. We could try to do that. Like, try to like put it back. I didn't bring any cut paste, like the sticky tacky stuff
No,
though.
it's okay, but
Okay.
that's a cool idea. I want to actually try that in the future.
Root grafting for elms is a go, 100%.
All right, here we go. Nice flush cut. Let's see if we can get a good view of that. Here we go.
Progress!
All right, there we have it.
Yeah, so we'll tease that out if you think you can.
Why don't we use our Bonsai-YEAH root hook here? Wow, it's working so well. Whoa, yeah, look at this guy.
Excellent.
Yeah, and a little wishbone.
Yeah.
Tart.
That has. We'll keep it tidy.
No worries, no worries. I got this. Beautiful. So that's a great cut. Got this crossing over here, and then we got this toxic chemical here. I'm just going to kind of paint on. Make sure it's got the edges. It's got a very wood glue smell.
Oh yeah, I'm sure glue is part of the ingredients.
Horseshoes. It's horse feet, I think.
Risky business.
I think it's horse hooves.
The hair of horses is used here
I mean, I don't know.
to keep our trees alive.
They don't have. I hear horses is like a normal meat around the world, except for like America.
Could be. Yeah, don't ask sometimes.
As
You know?
common as beef or something. I mean, it's probably good. Okay, cool.
That's all. That's it. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks
You
for
guys
joining
enjoy
us.
the day.
If you guys like our content, don't forget to. All right, let's
Just follow the
Or
pump
just-
fake on the outro. So as we do continue to move up the tree, right? So that's what I wanted to do to address the roots. Whenever we repot it, we'll take care of the other one to see.
figure out what to do with that one
What options
because
are
they're
there?
pretty good. Both of them are pretty good looking roots. They can go either way. I think the top one's probably going to go though.
Could be.
I'm leaning on that
Could
one.
be. I like the,
Especially if you're going to be moving it up more. That's just way too high up at that point. Yep.
I like that consideration. Good thought process.
Cool. And so now you've got this main branch coming up.
Yeah,
Or
so
are
we'll
we're
rotate it.
done with your roots, right?
Yeah, yep, exactly. So we'll rotate it towards the viewer. So yeah, as we move up, this is the lowest branch on the tree. So naturally, I'm not trying to do any removals here because I want the strength of the lowest branch to persist. Even where, with this being a Yamadori, even where there's like a piece of dead branching in here, I'm gonna leave it just because I'm not trying to like reduce that. It'll fall off when it's ready to fall off.
Okay.
And every little piece of dead is going to help just add to the whole tree instead of all these little tiny micro cut sites that aren't going to ever heal over. I mean, it's a piece of dead, so just leave it there. I am looking for, I'm not too concerned about reverse taper with it being a Yamadori, so if there's like an older spot on the lower branch that has three internodes emerging from the same point, usually you cut back for bifurcation and favorability there. I'm just gonna leave it. I like the overall feeling of this tree being wild and branches going all over the place and little pieces all over, and
You're gonna have
love it.
branches crossing over each over like crazy.
Precisely.
It is very wild. I mean, you definitely don't get the impression that this is like a man-made tree. So, and that's what we're.
Maybe right here at the apex, like the apex of this little branch, I'll cut it back slightly.
Oh,
Just a slight. All right.
messed
Do
it
you
up.
want it? Should you take it home? Get it out of
You
here.
ruined it. Well, you know what? You can't keep it now. I'll throw it away for you. I know a good place.
Perfect. So we'll leave the lower branches all intact like that.
Lovely.
For the strength. This is the weak portion of the tree. So then continuing up the trunk line, we have this thing that's emerging. A little bit thicker branch. So from a branch proportionality, the taper is off. Not a big deal. There's nothing we can do to correct that other than continue to chew this back. But realistically speaking, it's not going to thicken up a whole bunch because it's basically already got its primary line set. Tons of ramification on it, so you're not going to see like the thickening of any of the primary lines as this thing progresses over a 30-year time frame.
Yeah, I mean, you could tell because it's already barked up on the branches. You got bark on your branches?
We do, right here.
No, right here, y'all.
So this one's moving in the flow of the primary lines and has some motion back, so I love that motioning back. I'm going to do slight reductions in here just to continue to keep it small and dwarfed. So not a whole lot, but just
Yeah,
trimming.
you're barely even cutting those. Yeah, I mean, you're just getting a little off at the top there. Maybe no more than 2 nodes.
Yeah, just little trims because we're still in like a lower portion of the tree. This is the first branch here, and then as it goes out this direction, right now we start to see, from a silhouette perspective, there's some things that are like visually heavy to me specifically. So like this one branch that's like far out in the silhouette, it's just feeling a little bit thick. So we're gonna definitely just do a slight reduction there, and then continue to do micro cuts along that same kind of degree of reduction. It's a really subtle change out of this distance. Just keep chewing it back here and there, little spots. What do you think? Anything else sticking out to you, Los?
I'm really just taking in the eye candy of this whole tree.
Okay, so we've more or less addressed this branch in regards to just reducing back the things that are towards the apex and towards the tips. So that's the second branch, and then as we keep walking up the tree, we have this tiny branch from the trunk perspective. You can do the same sort of concept of just really small. Positionally speaking, this is actually sitting lower than the things that we were trimming, so I'm going to keep it pretty long. Hopefully it can continue to grow and fill out this. When you're looking at all the branches on the left-hand side from where you're seeing, this is actually overshadowing most of this stuff, as well as this branch. So I want this stuff to be longer, even though from a trunk perspective, it's the third branch in the hierarchy. So this one's been addressed, so we're now 3 branches in. Continuing, there's this back branch. Depending on the front, this branch that is hanging out on the underside, if the front is facing you, it's hanging out down here. We're gonna leave it. It's small and weak. Some of it might be dead. Just soak it up and love it.
Enjoy the rest of your life, little guy.
So now this takes us to like our big canopy defining branch. And this is an interesting part of this tree in my mind in the Yamadori. And it actually broaches onto design questions around where's the front?
Yeah.
Because if you're using anything over here as the front, now this is the apex. If you're using this as the front, this height is competing with the apex. So from an overall length of the branch, it's probably a little bit too long.
Yeah. a lot of straightness to it, but
And straight is typically boring,
yeah, well,
right?
but there's a lot of rules that are broken in this, and it's because it's like it's wild. It's a wild tree, and it doesn't look bad at all. Like I'm talking about those crossing branches and everything. It doesn't look bad.
We want to keep the interplay of it. It's part of the tree.
It's very playful. So having a straight branch here or there is not entirely the end of the world.
I like it.
Yeah.
Whenever it leaves out, if we're going with this area as the apex, it does kind of build this upper canopy that is now filling out. So it's not this Japanese triangular shape designed, heavily manicured bonsai, but it is going to be an interesting sort of canopy with this like billowing and kind of flowing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So relatively speaking, I'm looking at doing some reduction here to give favor to this canopy and this like pad or this like sector that we'll be developing. So these need to be reduced slightly. So just do some small cuts here and here. And that's probably dead, so we can break that off. Not cut it though.
Yeah.
Broke it so that way we have a natural cleave on it.
It's too bad there's not like an animal out there that has like scissors for claws. Then bonsai would be so much easier. You're like, oh, that's a natural cut. Like, nice flack. Oh yeah, that's the scissor clawed sloth.
Trained by the scissor claw sloth.
The scissor claw sloth. Playing at the ACL this year.
Better get that website quick. Scissorclawsloth.com.
Somebody's already got it.
Right, one of you streamers, 10%.
Yeah, that does a lot.
So there, and then this longer and then.
Let's see, where's he at? Right there, okay.
So like this is the apex of this branch, and this is like the fourth branch of the design, so it's still very tall. This is competing with this and competing with the lower branching there, so very much hard cut, relatively speaking, but as an apex it will grow and heal over okay, so we're gonna take it back pretty hard, relatively speaking. So
Yeah, that was pretty thick too for that that area.
since it's up towards the top, yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
Oh, a little bit of paste.
Put some paste on that one. So the question for you, based on your thoughts, is this feeling a little bit heavy and obtrusive now at the top?
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
So take that one back.
Yeah, that breathes a lot better.
And all the internodes. Oh, there's a little spider friend out there. Little spider friend.
Hey, bud. Hope you like wood glue.
It's gonna make you a giant mutant spider. That's how Spider-Man is born. Lo and behold.
Yeah, man, he looks pretty good. He's found a good little home. Can you imagine being a spider on a bonsai?
Sounds good.
Yeah.
So we've done some reduction here.
A lot of reduction.
Feels
there.
good. We'll do some more just like seasonal growth pruning is what I would call this. You know, as the grow season pushes out, this entire thing might extend. You just kind of continue to cut back on things in order to, like, it might have like, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 little internodes in there, little buds sitting on it. So you could just cut back to the first one. Or if you wanted to do the visual removal, we could take it just a little bit heavier. Alright, touches here and there, continuing to...
Yeah, you're going down a little bit more than you were on the bottom.
Yes. All these things that are growing like down and out, I kind of like them though, so I don't really want to get rid of them. There's like, because it's almost a thematic element of this tree at large. There's this one that's kind of growing down and out. You have this branch that's growing down and out. There was another one that I like really thought was cool. Not
This
seeing
one
it.
right
This
here?
one. Look at this crazy
Oh,
branch.
yeah.
It's like hugging.
This one right here, it's
Yeah, so that's emanating from like
this is
the
cool.
apex.
It's straight down.
It's a little bit of wire might help it move out a little bit.
Yeah, that would be very undesirable. That would be an instant cut in anybody else's eye. But
Yeah,
not with Brennan Baldauf.
we'll keep that in thematic with the other ones that are just like kind of dipping out.
They got crazy angles going on here.
Really enjoy it.
Yeah.
So we've been working on this section just for orientation purposes. So this has been pulled back. I think this is too heavy, or
Oh, yeah.
leave it.
You can absolutely see that's too heavy. The taper is too big.
What do you think about kind of like it's got the winged bark on it though, so it's kind of vibing with it.
You could probably reduce her down to that
Take it back.
node right there. Yeah.
The one right below that. Huh?
There we go.
What else is catching your eye on this region as we're still addressing
Well,
it?
I have to look at it differently. You know, I'm trying not to think that you're going for the styling at the moment. You're just going for future development. So like I'm trying not to think, oh yeah, you want to cut that down or bring this to a taper or something. It's not working that way right now. I'm actually just looking and watching, really. I mean, I do see maybe some of this go back a little bit, but I don't think you need to do much. Yeah, I mean, I think you're ready to start moving down to another
Exact
part.
Yeah, so this is all feeling pretty relatively addressed and controlled. Going back down to the trunk line. Now I'm loving all this lower branching, so gonna keep all that. Again, it's now positionally lower on the entire trees hierarchy. So then we're gonna go back to the trunk line and kind of start moving our way up to this branch. So we'll flip it to the camera view. So this is an interesting branch because it's also very long and straight in regards to this portion. Not a lot of branching in between where my fingers are located, and it's relatively straight. There's always the option to take a tree and repot it like this though. So we could tilt it in a direction completely different depending on how we want it to vibe. And now maybe this is turning into apex. So I'm gonna leave the length on the branch, and we're gonna do the same thing that we did to this one, to we're just kind of chewing back the really thick and long pieces in the apex of that branch in itself. Trying to leave options and versatility since it is its first potting.
And even cutting it back like loses so much over here. I mean, if you like this view, which I sort of like it up and over, I mean, this guy does so much to it. I mean, if you didn't have it there, boy, it'd be like such a bare looking tree. This adds a lot of extra character to her.
Very well said. Depending on, 100%.
I mean, that looks like an old oak tree, it looks like an old elm tree, like from far away.
I don't know, that one branch though is kind of just like, like reaching out wicked straight.
Yeah, you're right about that. Yeah, it would need to be dipping down, eventually getting
That same branch though, like look at it from this front
fuller.
to where that branch is now filling in where this gap is. In between these two trunks, there's negative space.
I guess
That's
you could
just perfectly being filled in. Yeah, guy wire it to pull it up a little bit just to fill in that little gap.
have a little bit in there.
What's up? Or rotation on the potting angle.
Oh, there it is. There's something there. All of a sudden, it's magic. It could disappear.
Just a handful of different ways that you can manipulate the branches in order for them to look interesting.
Yeah, and it's cool because it's probably pretty hard to find it by yourself. I mean, it's good to have this monitor because you get these instant results of what you're looking at. You have to prop it up in the crate.
And then run around, yeah.
So you look at that real quick, sit there for a second.
You do it all day, right? Check it out. How does it look now? So just micro cutbacks on the apex pieces just to help stimulate growth on lower noding and internal branching. All the apexes, they hold on to this hormone called auxin, AUXIN, and the apex have the auxin there, and then as you cut it, it actually releases oxygen flow, and then that's what stimulates the back branches to flush out. So when you do cuts and then it flushes, that's like a hormonal response where the oxygen is being released, and then the lower branches are starting to push out.
Yeah, I've heard that.
I think we touched on it once or twice, but it's a fun fact to always pepper in there.
I'm trying to imagine like the scientists that are like discovered oxygen.
Tree studies.
So you can see, you cut up here, it's got oxygen.
What's that stuff? Let's name it.
Well, the professor was named Oxygen, so he was all like, well, what else would you name it? Scientists are so vain. Oh, this is amps, watts. What else?
It's all about them.
Ford.
Ford, that's a science.
And there's people naming things after them.
So we hit this branch.
All right.
That's what we were talking about, right? The gambit.
Yeah, you
Chess
get there right.
moves.
Stafford Gambit.
So now we're like in the apex regions, right? This is the upper portion, and like, man, if we air layered right there, that would be a killer tree in
is
itself.
a beautiful tree.
Like, don't think I'd do that. But
Next season.
you're sick, man. Air layer this thing. So this little branch here is kind of the next one. I don't see a whole lot to trim. Looks like that thing just dead. There are dead things, but I will wait to do more dead breaking whenever it wakes up so I can very clearly and easily see what is what in that regards.
I mean, we don't know which buds are going to swell up later.
So we'll leave it.
That one definitely wasn't. You can just go down and do like a little finger pruning here.
Just break off the ends and see what happens.
Hey, look at me, I'm gardening. I'm a bonsai master with my finger.
Oh yeah, if you want scissors, I have. Maybe not your scissors.
Oh no.
Okay.
I got my finger move here. I'm not taking anything that doesn't want to get off.
Bit in there, bit up in this one. So we're continuing up, so then this branch, it's got some dead stuff on it, I think. We'll break some of it off like you were seeing. Okay, so that covers this branch as far as addressing some of the cuts.
Creep crossover branch.
And then now we're gonna work on this guy. Yep, perfect.
That was definitely.
Okay, let's see where else. Clippity clip, clip, clip. here and there, just little removals. Making progress. Almost done.
Dude.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Dude, looking good. There's a lot more work to be done with this bad boy, and I'm excited to see every little step in its journey.
It's time.
Thank you, Brandon, for joining us. If you like our content, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit that little bell icon. We'll see you next time. In the meantime, be cool, stay hip, get yourself a hobby. Bye.